our tourism economy until the state, at the behest of the short-term rental people, created rules which have really, I hate to use this word, but infested places like Scottsdale and Sedona with short-term rentals. And it's had a number of negative effects. First negative effect, everybody complains about a lack of affordable housing, right? Well, that's because, especially down in South Scottsdale, you have entire streets where what should be family-oriented homes have been turned into short-term rentals. So that is a big problem. It's not the tourism industry, it's the short-term rental industry. Scottsdale was a tourist destination for decades, and it made us plenty of money, and it made us happy, and it was good for us. It was the short-term rental boom, I guess you would call it, that turned that around.
Let's talk about speaking of housing, let's talk about some of the tensions that are going between preserving single-family neighborhoods and approving more apartments and condos in that mixed-use developments.
Yes.
Supporters argue that the higher density housing is necessary for workforce housing and economic growth, while opponents say it changes the character of Scottsdale and strains infrastructure. I think most people know, but I'll go ahead and ask, where do you stand on apartment and high-density development?
Where does Bob
And do
stand?
you think there are any areas in Scottsdale where it simply should or should not happen?
All right, if we did rational city planning, we would have a certain amount of single-family homes, we'd have a certain amount of condos, a certain amount of apartments, a certain amount of commercial. The problem is, we don't do that. What we've done for the last 25 years here, and what I've been fighting for the last 25 years, is basically giving the developers whatever they want. And that's how we end up with too much of one thing and not enough of the other. First of all, is a complete dodge that these guys are building affordable housing. There hasn't been an apartment built in this town in 20 years that's affordable. It's what happens is they come to council. I remember I was back on council. They would come and say, "Oh, we're building affordable housing," and then as soon as they got their zoning approval, you go and you look at the sign out there. It doesn't say affordable housing. It says luxury housing. It's lied. So there isn't a lot of affordable housing in Scottsdale because, number one, we're not building any, and number two, short-term rentals have sucked up. There are entire streets down in South Scottsdale that should be occupied by brand new families and instead are party houses. That's a mistake that we're letting to have happen, and I want to correct that.
You mentioned this as well in your first answer of talking about the Arizona state legislator coming into our city.
Ugh.
So Scottsdale leaders have increasingly clashed with the Arizona legislator over state laws that really override our local control on issues like housing rentals, the short-term rentals, which you've mentioned, water policy, zoning, etc. Do you believe that the state has gone too far in limiting Scottsdale's ability to govern itself? How would you push back, or how would you work with the lawmakers whose state priorities really conflict with the local concerns?
You know, when the legislature passed the Axon bill, one of the guys down there, not from Scottsdale, actually said as he voted for the bill that it's fun to stick it to Scottsdale. Well, you can't really negotiate with that kind of attitude, all right? Here's the problem. They've stuck it to us on Axon. They've stuck it to us on short-term rentals, water, on and on and on. Here's what we need to do. Scottsdale is a charter city. The biggest cities in Arizona, Phoenix, Tucson, Scottsdale, are charter cities. We actually have more power than a town like Cave Creek, for instance, okay? But we've never used it. Phoenix and Tucson, back about 15 years ago, used their fact they were a charter city to challenge this legislature in the court over election dates, and they won. The trouble is we've been too wimpy to do that. I would like to see us challenge the state legislature on these things and use our power as a charter city to make that happen. It's not a total solution, but it's better than what we're doing now, which is basically letting them run all over us.
Okay.